Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. So for today's episode, I want to talk about the Miami Heat and what they need to do this offseason. And they need to add some size to this roster desperately. And they could do that through free agency right now. And they do have a mid-level exception, which is around $15 million that they could spend. And I think there's a few players they could definitely go after. There's some pretty solid options in terms of power forwards out there, even some centers and some guards. But for this episode, I'm just going to focus on one power forward that the Miami Heat should consider targeting for free agency. And that player is the Los Angeles Lakers, Rui Hachimura. He's going to be a free agent this summer, an unrestricted free agent. And the Miami Heat, they need a lot of help. They need a lot of help, especially when it comes to star power and scoring, of course. But just on the periphery, though, they need to add size. They need functional size. They need versatility. They need to put pieces around Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero that are going to help them win. And there's been a clear issue again, and that's size and consistent scoring and rebounding and even reliable shooting, especially from the forward spot. And right now, the Miami Heat have three guys on their team that are 6'9" or above. That's Bam, who's playing at center. He went back to the center position, even though we know he wants to play power forward. Kel'el Ware, we have him coming off the bench. He started some games too, of course, with Bam Adebayo, which was nice. But he was coming off the bench throughout the season. You know, he's our 7-footer. And then we have Niko Jovic, who's 6'10", who was basically unplayable, out of the rotation, had some sort of mental block. I know it's tough being in and out of the rotation, not really knowing what your role is going to be. So he's had confidence at times. And then, of course, there's lack of confidence when you're not playing at all and getting a bunch of DMPs. So those are our three options. And if that wasn't just a bad third season for him, like a slump that Jaime had his second year, then we're in trouble and we need to add size. And Rui, he checks a ton of boxes for this Miami Heat team because he is one of the most efficient players and power forwards in the league. We're talking about someone who shoots over 50% from the field consistently. He shot 43% from three last year. He shot 39% from three in his career, but the last few seasons, he's shot over 40% from three. And that matters for Miami because while their three-point shooting percentage wasn't terrible, they were 11th in the league. Their makes and attempts were 15th in the league, so right in the middle. They just didn't have enough volume or enough guys you trusted to space the floor. And guys like Tyler Hero and Norman Powell in and out of our lineup, and they were our two best three-point shooters. And we saw what happened with Norm in general with his groin injury, not the second half of the season, but the last third of the season after All-Star break. His shooting numbers across the board went down. His points went down. His efficiency went down. So in general, we need a player that we can trust to space the floor in big moments in our front court. And Bam Adebayo has been working on that. He's been great, but he's been shooting like 33 to 35%. And Rui is someone who could shoot 43. And that's something that players on the defense have to respect, which opens up again the floor and the paint for players like Bam Adebayo, who likes to operate in that mid post kind of area, in that mid range. And then for Tyler Hero, who likes to get downhill to get to the floater, and Norman Powell as well, is a north-south type player. So if he's back on the roster, he's also a free agent. But if he's back on the roster, having Rui would be another three-point shooter and someone that can open up the lane for him as well. And what I really liked about Rui is that he's not just a spot-up shooter. He kind of is a three-level scorer. He can get you buckets in the mid-range. He can hit the three ball. He can finish strong at the rim. And that is the versatility that the Miami Heat desperately needs, again, in the forward rotation. And too often, their offense was predictable and we depended on a lot of drive and kick. Davion Mitchell did a really good job doing that. But again, we didn't have the right shooters. And when that wasn't working, we were bogged down. And Rui, he's just a guy who gives you another option on any given night. He's not going to be an all-star type level player who's going to get you 20 points a night. But if he can get you anywhere from like 11 to 14 points per game, that's going to be huge for the Miami Heat to get some contribution from a big. And again, the Miami Heat are trying to get to the playoffs. They missed the playoffs for the first time in 7 seasons. And Rui is a playoff performer. Rui has shown up big in moments. And this is a guy who doesn't shrink under pressure. In fact, statistically, it's not a big sample size because he was on the Wizards for such a long time, but he's one of the best 3-point shooters in NBA playoff history, among players with real volume. And think about that. That's again what the Miami Heat needs in the postseason. They're not just building to be a good regular season team. They want to win. This team doesn't tank. And Rui fits that identity in that Heat culture. And again, since joining the Lakers, he's been on a better team, a better role. He's shown growth. I know his minutes are down a little bit from last year. His numbers are down a little bit. He's averaging still like 11 points per game, down from 13. But again, he's on a team with LeBron and Luca and Reeves, high usage players. So of course he's not going to put up gaudy numbers. But still, early in his career, he was more of an isolation scorer, a guy who needed the ball in his hands to contribute. And now he could play better off ball. He cuts. He spaces the floor, like he plays within the flow of the offense. So you don't need a guy just pounding the ball in the paint. He's more engaged. He's more disciplined. And again, that matters for a Miami Heat team that struggled mightily and missed the playoffs. So in terms of the fit, Miami needs size. That's the fit. We talked about it all season. Spo, like Kerr, the Warriors head coach, loves to play small ball. We need size. They were not a great rim protecting team. They were 24th in blocks. Bam and Kalel are basically your only two options that you have. You get Rui. He's an athletic guy who's 6'9". He's very strong. He gives you physicality. He could play the three if you want him to. He could play the four. So you have flexibility in lineups. You could even play a lineup with Bam, Kalel, and Rui, which would be huge for the Miami Heat team. You put Tyler Hero in there and then Davion Mitchell. That's fine. You could hide Tyler Hero on defense. You get size with Tyler. And then, or even if you want Tyler, Jaime, or Pella in those three, like that could be huge for this team. So that's something that the Miami Heat consistently need is size, athleticism, and a floor spacer. And again, the financial side, if we can get him for 15 million with that mid-level exception, again, you're getting a guy who's a high-level role player in the rotation, probably in your top 8, and you're paying him only 15 million. Nico is going to be making 16 million next season. Nico Jovic, who had a horrible year. Rui is so much better and is a way better role player who moves the needle at this point in his career because he's not as young as Nico, obviously, but still, Nico's had time. He's been in the league for a while now. And so, no excuses. He's been in the league for 4 seasons. So, he needs to figure that out. But this is the kind of move that the Miami Heat have made in the past. They've thrived finding guys who fit their culture. And Rui feels like a Heat player, in my opinion. He feels like he's a player that's improved. He's shown growth. He's shown he can contribute. And it's all about making the right moves for the Miami Heat to add better talent, more athletes, bigger players on this roster. We can't keep running it back with the same type of players. We need better NBA talent on this team. We're doing better drafting every single year. We've had steals like Kasparis looks like he could be a potential steal. Pella Larson is definitely a steal from the second round. Tyler Bam, if you go back that far, obviously steals late lottery picks. But um, when you look at Rui, though, everything he does is right. The efficiency, the 3-point shooting, the size, the playoff performances, the growth, the fit. Like, I think he's one of the guys I want the most on the Miami Heat. So um, let me know what you guys think. Do you think he should be the number one target that we go after with the mid-level exception? I honestly think he might be one of the best fits, honestly. Um, just because he's not like super old. He's 27. He fits Bam's timeline. He's the same age as Bam, a couple years older than Tyler. So we're never going to do a full rebuild. We're never going to like give the reins to all of our young players. We still played Andrew Wiggins and Norman Powell, like guys we probably should have traded during the trade deadline to get possible first round picks for and to get off the only few guys that are on our team that are in their 30s. So if we're not going to do that, then add a guy like Rui, who is still 27, who's still in his prime. I think that would be a good fit for this Miami Heat team. So let me know in the comment section. Should we go after Rui? I say yes. If you agree, just let me know. And also don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the channel for more Miami Heat content.